I beg. Thank you.
So can you see the Visual Studio Code?
Yes.
Great. So we are going to continue today by diving deep into Flask. Okay. Now in getting into Flask, the first thing we need to do is to get into our virtual environment, which we created before my virtual PMV. And to get into it is just when you're in the location where it is, you can say my venv slash scripts slash activate for Windows users, and then hit enter. It will activate. And then how you know you activated, you will see it in the bracket in front of this line. Okay. Now there is something else I wanted to show us, because let's write our first Flask application. We can create a new file and call it Flask app.py, because we are using in Python. So it's Python file.py. Now, hold on, let me just open my screen. Okay. So now that we have the app, we are now going to, what I want to show us again is the Flask doc documentation. Okay, so if I open the browser and type Flask documentation, it will bring us to this page. We can open in and we can go to quick start. So here you can read up about just basics of Flask. So now we are going to use this quick start code from here to run this application. So you can always find it here for guide and all that. So what that code is saying now, for now, say from Flask import Flask. Okay, then it declares an app as an instance of Flask. So here you pass in name. Okay, now we go further. You can then say app.run. Okay, so now what are we trying to do? We are from Flask. Flask is a module. Import Flask. Now we haven't installed Flask yet, so we need to install Flask. Remember, I'm in the virtual environment. So to install Flask, you type the command pip install Flask, small letter, and then hit enter. So it installs. I've installed Flask now. Now, because I've installed Flask, you will see that the IDE recognized Flask. Before it didn't recognize it, so it was putting it underlined as if it's an error. But now, because I've installed Flask, it then understood what it meant, and then it knows what Flask is. Okay, fine. So from Flask, import Flask. So we then create an app, which is an instance of Flask, passing the name magic variable, I'll call it now. This underscore name underscore in Python represents the name of the file we are running. Okay, we'll still later look at it to understand it better. We were supposed to do that in the last class. I realized after the class that we did not really dive deep into this. But now this is for the Flask app. I hope you can see my screen.
Yes.
Okay, good. That is the Visual Studio Code, right? Okay.
Yes, I'm seeing the Visual Studio Code, but I'm doing my own on PyCharm.
All right, no problem.
But there's a
So,
message that says you are using a Flask framework.
yeah, Flask is a
That a
framework.
professional, yeah, the PyCharm Professional Edition has special support for it.
Yeah, so I think they are basically trying to tell you to get the professional edition because PyCharm has different editions. Are you using the paid version or free version?
No, community.
Community, I think community is free. Then
Yes,
the
community is free.
yeah, the professional edition, there are more features. So that's what they are trying to tell you that if you use it with Flask, they have better support there. That's what the message is, but it really does not matter. You can still continue with the community version.
So
Okay,
does
now
it mean that it's not going to work?
it will work. It will work. But in terms of support, like if you look at my VS Code, for instance,
Uh,
you can see all these beautiful colors, right? When I put my
yes.
mouse up on something, you could see some more details. All these things are like
Mm.
support that is in Visual Studio Code because of an extension, right? That is this. That's one thing about Visual Studio Code and all other IDE. You can have support in the IDE or add extension. In the case of Visual Studio Code, there are many extensions you can add to give you support in different um, Python libraries you're working with, you understand, or any other language. So now, what I'm saying is, this is basically creating a Flask app. You import Flask, this one with capital letter F from Flask, after installing Flask with small letter F. Then you create an instance of this and then you run the app. If I run this file now, let me save it and then I run it. So to run it on the command line, I can say flask dash dash app. Then the name of the app is Flask app. So then run. So I hit enter. Okay, I think I need to first. Yeah, it's running. Okay, don't worry, it's running. So you can see here running on this IP address. Okay, so now the Flask app is running on this IP address. So you can see 7. Okay, there's something is giving an error here saying, okay, I shouldn't even make this call at this point. Okay, no problem. So it says 7 Flask app. This is the name of the Flask app, and we are not running on debug mode, and we're is serving it on this IP. So if I take it to my browser, let me bring the browser again and type it HTTP. So there you go. So if you type it and then hit enter, you see at the moment it says URL not found. It's not finding anything because we've not defined the home root yet. And when you look at the the terminal, you can see when I try to go access this link, you can see the message here. I try to access it with get and it returned 404 not found because I've not yet, put any root. So another thing I want us to note here is that even though I called app.run, it ignored this line because I wasn't supposed to call this line running this way. The way I ran it, I was not supposed to call this line. Okay. So just telling it to run the way I ran it with this command, flask dash dash app, flask app run, because flask app is the name of the file. It's going to run. It's almost like calling this app.run basically. But I didn't need to have it here. So it ignored it and you can see the warning. Okay, good. Now, um, when we try to, we've not created any root, so we're going to create a root now. After we have our app, we could create a root, app.root. We can just put that. This is for the home directory, and we now create a function, call you home, then return. Let me just go to the website and take, okay, return this. So if you are familiar with HTML, you know that this P here is a paragraph tab in HTML. So I can actually even just say, let it be H1 instead of a paragraph. So it will be like a heading. So H1, and instead of hello world, I can just, let me just say welcome. Welcome to my application. Okay. So now you just have this root created, and this root is for the home page. So let me save it. And after saving it, if I go to the website and refresh this page, you still did not notice the new change. Okay, so what do I need to do? I need to come back to the flags in the terminal. See, it's still not getting it, and close it with Control C to quit your flags. You do Control C. So you Control C. I've closed the flags app. Then I run it again. So I run it again so that we can see my changes. Okay, now it's running. So let's go back and save it. Now the other thing is, it's not taking effect. It's not taking effect as we make changes to our application. There's no effect, so we need to constantly close the application and restart it. Now this on its own presents a lot of stress every time you make small change. You go to your application and refresh it. So now if I click the link, you see it's having a 200, which is good. Then if we check the browser, you can see that it's now showing what we wanted. Welcome to my Flags app. Okay, it's now throwing that out. So the problem was that I had this decorator missing my art, but you always have to put it so that it can pick the root. Okay, now we are in our home root this way now. So the next thing is, anytime we make a change, we don't want to always kill the application and start it again. To do that, we need to run it in debug mode. Okay. And before we go to debug mode, let's just see another way of running your Flags app. The way I'm running it, I'm just running from the command line. But a better way to run it brings what we learned in our last class, where you say if um, underscore name is equal to main. This is where you now have the app.run. That app.run that I had to remove before. So if you notice, that error was saying I should put it under this condition. Now I explained this condition in the last class, that what it means is that if you're running this particular file, that is when this part of the code should run. So if this condition holds where the name is main, which means this is a particular file you're running, then you should take the app and run it. Okay. Now we can easily set debug here equal to true, so that whenever we make a change in the code, automatically it will be reflected in the browser. just by refreshing the browser. We don't need to kill our application to reflect the change. Okay, all we need to do is um, refresh and the change will be seen. So you save it and then you have that debug equals true. Now we run our app. We don't Now that I included this line, these two lines, right? I don't need to run it with this anymore. To run it, I just need to say, just like you run any normal Python file, phy Python and then Flask. Okay, python. Sorry, I knew something was off. Flask app file. So just the normal way you run the Python app script. That's how you just call it now and to run. Okay, so you can see the application is running again. Now you can see these additional details because I set debug equal to true, and we can then access it now on the website. We see the application, and if I come and say, okay, instead of saying hello, welcome to my app, I can now say hello world, save it. See, the moment I save, if you look at the terminal, you see that it reloads automatically because we are in debug mode. Okay, so once it reloads, if you go to the website, reload it, you have hello world. So now what have we done now so far in our Flask app? We've imported Flask, we've created an app, and now we've created one root. This root is the same thing as like the home. When you just like type the address, like the website, maybe google.com, what you see is the home page before you continue whatever you want to do. So that is the first route we've created. Now we can go ahead and create a second route. Now we can call this about, like an about page telling talking about us, and then the root will be /about. Okay, so you have the landing page, which is just the slash, and now the second root we are creating is /about, maybe like an about page. We have the function about, but now we could change it and say this will be h1, please. H1 heading 1, and then we can just say we are the creators of this application. So this is just to describe who we are. Okay, the about page. Now it's the second root. How do we access this root? When you go back to your browser, remember this is like your home page in your local host, and then you can then say /about. So you've created a second route /about, and then when you hit, okay, I've not saved it, not found. So let me save it, go back, refresh. So we are the creators of this application. So this is how you create roots in Flask, basically. And what are these roots? Like we talked about when we talk about the internet, you could see that in every website you can have different roots. Slash, if you go to a website, you can have /home, slash about, /contact us, and so on and so forth. So these are how you create roots with Flask. You use the decorator at root, and then you put the root in there and create the root. Okay. Now we'll move on to something else what we call dynamic routing or routing. There are some routes that are created dynamically. Like let's create one. So I have this third route, and I can call it user. Now, what makes it a dynamic route? For instance, the route can be user and then slash. What we have here is name. So you have this variable called name, which is taken on the root. So when you look at the root, you will see these greater than, less than, and greater than signs. In between, you have a variable name. Okay, this name now is not fixed. It could be anything. Is a variable. It could hold anything for your root, but the name must be passed into the function. So in this case now, I wrote a function called user, and then it accepts a parameter name. If you notice, the other two functions for the first two roots do not have any um, argument passed to them, but this third one now has an argument passed. And then this argument that we pass to the root, we can also use it in the root. So we can say welcome. Then maybe I put the name. Welcome Steve to our application. So here I need to put the variable name. So if it's Steve, for instance, you could say welcome Steve to our application, or whoever it is. So basically, what are we doing now? We created a route that is dynamic. It has a variable in the end. The variable could be anything, but we hope it to be someone's name. So you can pass in anybody's name. When this name is passed through this route, Flask is able to receive it and use it in this function. So let's save it and see how it works in the browser. So this is the browser. Now we had the about page. So now this route is users, right? Is it users? That add s? Okay, user slash, let's say John. Now when I hit enter, you can see that it took the name John and inserted it into the application as we intended it to be here. But let me make this a H1 so that it would be bigger. Then come to the end. Then save it. Go back and refresh. Okay, so you can see if you change the root now to where is the root now? What is the root? Okay, 127. Okay, that's it. Why do I keep cleaning it? 127 and slash user. So you can put another name, Ebere. So what you see here now, the roots can change based on the name that it receives. And when you hit enter, it gets into the application. So far, do we have any question?
Well, I'm a little bit lost.
Okay. Which area?
Because in my passion, it is telling me that Flask module is not installed. So
Okay.
how do I install it?
Okay. Permit me to throw the question to the class. Can someone say, because we said it in the beginning. Oh, don't worry. Let me just tell you how you install it. You install it by going to run pip install flask in your command line. Okay.
That's in my PyCharm.
Yeah, your PyCharm. When you're in your virtual environment, so you install it with this command: pip install flask.
Can't find it.
Okay. You know how to install Python modules or packages using PyCharm.
No, I've not done it before.
Well, this is your first time of using PyCharm. Can you locate where your
It's PyCharm
terminal
I've
is?
used. Yes.
So on your terminal, type pip install this thing. But okay, can you do your virtual environment?
No.
Are you on Windows?
Yes.
Okay. So on your terminal, remember in the other class we said to make a virtual environment, you need to type Python-m. Let me type it for you to see on my own terminal. venv, Python-m venv, and then the name of your virtual environment. You could call it venv, or maybe um any name.
I'm on the command prompts. So on the command prompt, PIP.
Sorry, pip install. Why did I type Python? Not Python. Oh no, this
Okay.
is Python. Don't let me not get confused. This is where you're making your virtual environment. So you can use Python, right? When you want to install Flask, then you use pip install Flask. But this now can create for you a virtual environment. Then you activate it, okay? So that everything you install, you need to create the virtual environment first, then install the package in the virtual